Imagine one decision, one conversation, one harmless click, and 6 months later you're sitting in divorce court, ashamed, broke, and wondering how life fell apart so fast. Proverbs 5 is the chapter Solomon wrote to stop that nightmare before it starts. This is the most raw, graphic, no-filter warning in the entire book of Proverbs. If you're breathing, you need to hear every word. Intro. Welcome to the Proverbs series that's waking people up. Proverbs 5 is a father basically grabbing his son by the shoulders and yelling, "Son, there is a woman or man out there whose lips drip honey, but her end is death." Today we break it into 4 parts. The bait, it looks and feels amazing. The hook, you will never see coming. The cost, it's way higher than you think. The better way, sex, joy, and freedom, God's way. This is not optional Sunday school, this is life or death. Part 1. The bait, lips of honey, verses 1 through 6. My son, pay attention to my wisdom. For the lips of the adulteress drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil. But in the end, she is bitter as gall, sharp as a double-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps lead straight to the grave. Solomon doesn't say she's ugly. He says the opposite. It feels incredible. At first. That's why it works. That late-night DM, that coworker who just gets you, that OnlyFans tab you keep open just to look. Lips of honey. Verse 6, she gives no thought to the way of life. Her paths wander, and she does not know it. Translation, she's lost, and she'll drag you into the same lostness. Part 2, the hook and the cost. Verses 7 through 14. Keep a wide distance. Do not go near the door of her house, or you'll give your strength to others. At the end of your life, you will groan. I hated discipline. Now I must bear the scorn. Look at the price tag Solomon lists. You lose your strength, energy, drive, testosterone, purpose. You lose your wealth, divorce, child support, shame, money. You lose your honor. Everyone finds out. Your body wastes away. STDs, stress, depression, regret. Worst, you stand before God one day groaning, I knew better. Real talk. I've read the DMs, sat with the men who thought they could handle it. 6 months later, crying in their car, wife gone, kids won't speak to them, porn addiction worse than ever. Proverbs 5 is brutal because it loves you. Part 3. The painful picture. Verses 15 through 19. Drink water from your own cistern. Rejoice in the wife of your youth. A loving doe, a graceful deer, may her breasts satisfy you always. May you ever be intoxicated with her love. Solomon gets graphic for a reason. God is not anti-sex, God invented sex. He's saying all the thrill you're chasing out there, I already gave you something better at home. If you're single, this is training for the future. If you're married, this is your daily assignment. Get drunk on your spouse, not on forbidden fruit. Part 4. God sees everything, plus final warning. Why be intoxicated with another man's wife? For your ways are in full view of the Lord. The evil deeds of the wicked ensnare them. The cords of their sins hold them fast. They die for lack of discipline. Nothing is hidden. Every click, every glance, every secret chat, God sees. And one day the cords tighten until you can't move. 30-day purity challenge. Here's the challenge that saved my own marriage and thousands of others. For the next 30 days, read Proverbs 5 out loud every morning. Pray David's prayer every night. Keep me from willful sins. May they not rule over me. Psalm 19:13. Install accountability software or give your spouse, friend, your phone password today. When temptation hits, literally say out loud, her end is death. Comment locked in for purity below. I'm praying for every single one of you by name. If this shook you awake, smash like, save this video, share it with one person who's flirting with the line right now. It could save their life. Next, Proverbs 6.
the 7 things God hates, and one of them will shock you. Turn on notifications, stay pure. I'm proud of you for watching this far.